Okay, hi, Oliver. I hope you're enjoying the holiday. Now, this is a new way that I'm using to um, draft. And the first thing I would say to you is that your analysis is not actually complete because you haven't addressed any visual elements. The other thing I would say is it'd be a lot easier to read if you actually put the headings in that were on the task sheet, and they should run in the order that they appear on the task sheet. So form, purpose, target audience, social context, visual elements, language features, and then conclusion and evaluation. This is kind of minimal. It's very short at the moment, Oliver. You haven't really used any of the resources that have been available for many weeks now on Sector. So you need to do quite a lot of work on this in order to bump that grade up to something acceptable. Now look at your editing with the use of many criteria which help find the purpose, language, features, form, audience, and social context. You really do need to read your work out loud. What you're showing your understanding here is that both advertisements use the conventions of advertising in order to fulfill their purpose, which is to create an emotion, to create a connection between their target audience and their product, which is going to build a desire in them to purchase it. So you really do need to make sure that you're showing your understanding. Advertisements are text like any other. So what we're doing here is you're showing your understanding of how creators of texts, in this case, the creators or the designers of these advertisements, are using stylistic features. So those are the visual elements, and language features and the conventions of advertising to create an effect on their audience. And at the moment, you're not addressing either KU2 or analysis of AN2. So you need to put in your headings. Now, just a few things. They're not just selling high-end shoes. These are trainers, okay? And they are the same brand, but I think when you say the comparison between these two advertisements is the date that each were made, what you're saying is the major difference between these two advertisements is the era in which each was published. So the Adidas Rick Barry advertisement was published in 1979 and Kanye West in 2015. That's one of the major differences. Now, you keep saying comparison. Comparison is when you actually show your understanding of what's different. So what you're saying is that the advertisements are incredibly different, which highlights the huge leaps in sophistication of technology, advertising techniques, but also what's happened to the brand over this period of time, and we'll come on to that. Now you say Kanye West's brand Yeezy through a partnership started as an idea. Well, that's just too general. Everything starts as an idea, Oliver. So you need to say, which I think will probably come under social context, what it was tapping into at the time, which I think is the height of Kanye West popularity and celebrity. So you need to tidy all of this up. Language features. I'm afraid you haven't actually analysed any language here. You've got to go back to the PowerPoint, and you've got to reread those slides on persuasive language. And you've also got to take out the visual elements handout, and you've got to read those advertisements that are attached and look at how the language in the advertisements is explained and annotated, because you haven't done any of that. Yes, one of the major differences between the two... Oh, Excuse me. Okay, yes, so where was I? You haven't analysed, and there's so much text in the Rick Barry advertisement. You need to go back. Yes, it must be a magazine advertisement because of the amount of text it's presuming. And again, when you go back into form, you need to be saying what kind of magazines this would be published in. You talk about, it talks about the development of the shoe. You need to be saying the copywriter uses this kind of language to create, it's creating this idea, this connection. When Rick Barry helped us create the Adidas top 10 basketball shoe, he knew it would have the severest critics of all, the US top 10 players. So it's almost like it's an article. There is so much text here. Rick pressed for every advantage. He insisted we develop. So this kind of language is showing how strict, how methodical, how careful Rick Barry was when he was helping Adidas develop this shoe. Now, what connection is that making? Is it that this is the best shoe on the market? He demanded that we build the deep herringbone sole with a turning disc and a serrated edge for softness, traction and flex. This is jargon, Oliver. They're using lots of product-specific jargon here in order to convince the target audience that this is the best, most professional shoe on the market because this is worn by the top 10 players. So you're going to need to go back and do quite a lot more work on that. Similarly, yes, so I get that the Kanye West ad has minimal text. Yes, that's because it is aimed at a 21st century audience who are this is social media advertising. They're using special effects. It's black and white. We talked about all of this in the lesson, so I'm not sure why you haven't done it. I don't know if Boost is the name of the Yeezy or if that is, I don't really know what that means. You're going to have to work out whether that's part of the brand or it's just Boost. Boost what? Boost confidence, boost everything. I don't know. We talked about the way that he is dressed and positioned. But in terms of language, Kanye West and Yeezy, Boost and Adidas are the only words on the page. But you can be looking at, when you talk about visual elements, you're looking at the font that's used, the fact that they're capital letters, the fact that Kanye and West, it looks almost like a reflection of the typeface, just as the product is positioned, they use a camera shot, straight ahead, point of view, and then the special effects of the reflection to heighten the impact that the product has. So you've got quite a lot of work to do, Oliver. You need to go back to the visual elements. You need to go back to the PowerPoint with language techniques, and you actually need to do some analysis. You need to use topic sentences. So while the Adidas Rick Barry advertisement has lots of text within the advertisement, in contrast, the Kanye West Yeezy advertisement has minimal text. And then you go and you analyze how the Rick Barry, that they use jargon, how they use those strong language of that sort of forceful, the connection that they're making is, this is a really, really carefully, technically advanced, invented shoe. And it's used by the top basketballers in the world. And so the target audience of young men, probably 15 to 25, are going to be aspiring to be able to play like them. The main differences with the Kanye West is this is a celebrity shoe. This is a fashion accessory. Again, we did discuss this in class, Oliver, so I'm a little bit disappointed that you haven't actually put any of this in. So when you talk about the social context, you're talking about how at the time, the Rick Barry, trainers were worn only for sport. They were not a fashion accessory. So it was all about the fit and the technological advances of it. And that would have been a really, really technically advanced shoe at the time. And the main difference is that Yeezys is a trainer that has been brought out at a time when we are in the height of an era which worships celebrity. The Kardashians are huge celebrities with huge social media followings and media following. And Yeezys are a fashion accessory. You can't wear Yeezys to play basketball, can you? So you need to go back and sort this out. I've said earlier, in your form, yes, magazine or newspaper, it's not the inaccessibility of the internet. It didn't exist then. So you really do need to be thinking big picture here, Oliver. You talk about then you said something about the audience and how the audience was everyone, which I think I had very, very clearly said many times in class. There's always a target audience. So you can't say that captures the audience, which was nearly everyone, because guess what? I hate Yeezys. I would never wear a Yeezy. I bet your mum and dad wouldn't wear Yeezys either. So you need to go back and work out who the target audience is. It's young, we talked about this, it's young teenagers, probably 15 to 25, who are, and what's the emotional connection? It's using celebrity endorsement. So Oliver, you've got quite a lot of work to do. This time, please go back and use the resources that are on Sector and take a little bit more time, because at the moment this would be quite a disappointing grade, and I actually was hoping that this would be the task where we could really see some leaps and bounds in your grade. And you're really capable of it. You're just not putting in the time and effort to actually sit and use those resources. Have a look at the document that is entitled Read Me. It's in the first week of this task on Sector, and it's got really good examples of how to use the language of analysis. But you need to be looking at 3 to 4 visual elements, which you're going to take from the visual elements handout, and you need about 100 words on the language techniques at least. Okay, so let me know if you have any problems. It's still due on Monday. Happy drafting.